Hey there, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jamie, and we're your co-hosts for Two Clicks in a Pod.
Join us as we explore our missed times, stories, and memories due to divorce and a 1,000-mile separation.
I can't wait. You ready to get into it, Kev?
I am. Hey, Jamie, you think they're going to swear?
Oh yeah, consider yourselves warned. Today we are joined by Reid Johnson. Reid is a financial professional and fiduciary with more than 24 years of experience in the financial services industry. Reid works closely with his clients to help identify their financial needs and determine the best strategies to help meet their goals. His personal mission is to help individuals achieve financial security so they are able to enjoy retirement comfortably. Ultimately, Reid defines himself as an investment advisor and a serial entrepreneur. Like many of our guests, Reid is a very close family friend, and I'm sure could share many fun and embarrassing stories about Dad and I. But today, we get to interview you, Reid. So welcome.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. A little bit.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Are you nervous at all given how your history with Dad and I and how things can tend to go? But
I was not nervous until the prequel of, getting on this. And now I'm a little bit nervous. We'll see how it goes.
Well, the good news is I'll speak for myself. There's no alcohol involved in this session. So, right? I mean, I'm not.
I don't know. I might have to go get some. We'll see.
You may have to.
I mean, the bar is right. Depends on how it goes. I'll let you know.
That's right. I do have drinks while recording at times, but it's early in the day here today, so I'm trying to be on my best behavior.
It's 5:00 somewhere. Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, we could do it. Yeah.
And it's a Monday.
Are you sure you're not drinking?
Yeah.
No, this is water.
And better yet, you usually don't care how you act. So there you go. That is a big change.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I've got my old friend on today. I gotta impress him and show him how far I've come in life, being a part of our own podcast here, but. All right. Well, anywho, Reid, we're going to kick off. Obviously, there's many years of friendship between all of us. But for the listeners, can you just share a little bit about you and your background, specifically not being a native to Texas? Tell us how you, kind of came from where you came from and what brought you here.
Yeah, great. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. I always tell people I got to Texas as quick as I could. Although I'll never be a Texan, at least I got married to one and had Texas children. So I guess that's half okay. How I got to Texas, great question. I used to sell furniture at a place called the Bedroom Superstore. I sold literally waterbeds for a long time. I don't even know if you knew that, Jamie.
I didn't know that.
And literally, I went trips from working there and won a cruise and we went to out of Long Beach in California, down to Ensenada and down to in that Mexico area, and met a couple of teachers from Grapevine, Texas, on that cruise, and literally ended up dating over the summer. And just on a whim, I had a house. I had 4 roommates, and 3 of us worked together. And I came back from that cruise. I go, man, I met the one, and we dated over the summer. And she talked me into moving down to Texas. And literally, we were together for about 6 months, and we ended up breaking up. And I stayed in Texas. That's how I got there. It was crazy.
I was going to say, spoiler alert, she wasn't the one, but yeah.
She was not. Yeah, she was not.
How did she like the waterbeds? What I want to know.
I don't even.
Was it one of those? Was it one of those with the baffles in it? Where they kind of went into that high technology to where you wouldn't be sloshing around. You actually kind of got to just float a little bit. So
yeah. It was wild. Like a regular waterbed mattress back then would be like $50, right? If you popped one, but some of these waterbed mattresses were like $400 and $500. I mean, they had different like levels of material in them to keep them from moving, and it was a disaster though. Knowing what I know about waterbeds, I would have never had one. Never.
Dad had waterbeds for forever.
Oh yeah, I had a waterbed for quite a while, and it was the fancy one that had the canopy on it. It had the 9 mirrors that were above the top. Yeah.
Of course you had the mirrors. Of course.
I just don't know how. I don't know how I never knew that. I feel like maybe you told me you had met somebody and that's why you moved, but I definitely did not know you were selling furniture.
I didn't know that until the last time I saw him a week or so ago. I mean, he mentioned it when we were touring the house. I don't know how we got on that. He said, "Yeah, did you know I saw waterbeds?" I said, "Nope." There you go.
So, okay, so you moved to Grapevine. Where did you move to though when you first moved to Dallas? Because very few people actually live in
Dallas proper.
Right.
Yeah, no, I lived in Grapevine. I was like 3 houses off of Lake Green. So
close to the girlfriend.
I was right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like if you think about that area, I mean, it was where the new hotel is, the Gaylord.
Yeah.
What is that hotel? The Gaylord or whatever it is.
Gaylord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was right there. Yeah.
So you said
we lived right there.
When you were like anxious to leave Utah, how old were you when you moved to Texas?
27.
Okay. And why were you
it was 19 it was 90 in 99. Yeah. It's crazy.
Oh, the year I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
100%.
Not to date you, but there you go. Okay, so why were you? This kind of goes to your backstory. Why were you so anxious to leave Utah?
Well, not being Mormon and living in Utah is it's a little bit different. I mean, because you're looking. I mean, at that point, I think it was a little over half the population was Mormon, and I mean, that gives us the dating pool. I mean, it's a lot less, right? You know, you're either Mormon or you're not, and ultimately, I mean, I love snowboarding, wakeboarding. You only could do it a couple months out of the year, and a few of my buddies who I met who got me into wakeboarding actually told me about how great the South was. And when I got down here, I mean, it was just everything they said that was true. I mean, you were able to, ride pretty much 8-9 months out of the year. So, I mean, that was a really big factor for me to move down there. Cause at that time in my life, like I loved wakeboarding. I mean, I wakeboarded as much as I could. Yeah. That'd be a big reason. I think culturally it was different. I was ready for, I mean, even though I had great roommates, I had a really nice house. I mean, we were at the base of the mountain, snowboarding, wakeboarding, you got the whole picture, but I think I was just ready for a change. I looking back on it, I cannot believe I did it. I mean, like I'm established. I had a good job, house, and I literally just picked up, my dad ended up selling my house after I moved down here. I didn't even have anybody because I had roommates and they all had to go find a place. And so I gave them some time. And then he ended up selling my house, which that was crazy because I left a parking meter in there. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's what happened. I don't know if I should tell that because it's illegal. I mean,
well, I think you're safe. I think you're safe now.
Yeah, I think so. I think you've got the... cut yourself covered. I've got a question on back to the waterbeds though. So obviously the Mormon population really pushed hard on purchasing waterbeds.
We were a very small store, and in fact, we were one of the only ones that was open on Sundays, right? So I don't know that it was Mormon. I mean, I guess there were. I never really asked people, about religious wise whether there were, but we sold a lot of waterbeds. So they had 3 stores.
Did anybody buy more than one? That would have been a good giveaway.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever saw polygamists in there. I could have though. I live next to my last house. Yep. There was polygamists right around the corner. So I mean, there were definitely houses where you knew there were polygamists living for sure.
Huh?
Reid, I need a quantity of 4. No wonder you were buying a first house at such a young age.
Yeah,
that's a good story just on its own, I'm sure. How did that happen?
I honestly, I mean, how old was I? I guess I bought that first house. I was like 22 or 23. I was making. I mean, at that point, it was like $60,000-$70,000 a year. But I mean, I was making really good money, and I don't know. I just always looked at. It even goes into my life today. I'm always looking at something from an investment standpoint, and somebody said, "Hey, I'd rent from you. And I was like, "Okay, I got to make this happen." And that's how I initially got that first house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So when you packed up and moved, I'm curious, you mentioned your dad sold your house for you, but what did your dad think about when you were like, I'm going to move to Texas? Like, did they support that or?
Yeah. I mean, nobody said anything. I mean, I didn't have the type of the relationship I had with my parents. I always felt like I was kind of more of a, independent, if that makes sense. Like they were like, okay, Reid, you're going to do what you did. I mean, that stems from me just being a really, they were thankful every day that I was, doing good things. Cause I mean, from an early age, I mean, I was just off the rails for, for my early childhood. And so when I got into like my 20s and got my shit together, it was like, okay, whatever you're going to do, as long as he's on the right track. So they were good with it.
Yeah. And your dad's still in Utah, right? Or did he end up moving to Texas as well?
My dad lives here in right around the corner now. I mean, he's here in Rockwall, so he's super close. Him and his wife moved down here 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Yeah,
okay,
it's awesome to have him here close. Yep, yeah. My mom's still in Utah though.
Yeah. So your parents, obviously, they're not married. So when did they end up separating? How old were you when that happened?
Eighth grade. They got divorced when I was in eighth grade, which is about the time things went off the rails. So I don't know if, is that me? Literally, was it me just like using that as an excuse? Was it real, some sort of impact, maybe a combination of both? But yeah, I was in eighth grade, and that's about the time that got a little crazy for a bit.
Probably a little bit of all that, a little bit of adolescence plus divorce plus just exploring what you can do. I mean, it all works out. It's how I look at myself. I mean, this was probably 10 years ago when my friends would laugh because they're like, how did you end up where you are? Because I had a little bit of a disastrous path for a while there, but it all worked out.
Sure.
Well, say disaster. I like to have a good time. So it all worked out.
No, that's not true. Okay.
No, not at all. So when you moved to Dallas, then you weren't with the girlfriend for very long. You said like 6 months. When we've talked about this a lot, because I feel like your transition into Dallas was a lot more successful than mine. But I'm curious what how you attribute basically how you grew your life in Texas, because I find it to be a place coming in as an adult because it's so big and where some people are like, oh, you could probably just meet tons of people. Like, I think for me, I thought it was a lot of work. So I'm curious how you really created your life there.
So I honestly, I had two friends that ended up after the girl that I moved down to Texas for, and I broke up. I talked two of my buddies from Utah, two of my friends who I used to snowboard and wakeboard with. I had talked them into moving down here. And one of them was down here for about a year. One was down here about 6 months. But that was instrumental for me staying, because I don't think that there's any way I would have stayed. But they were here long enough for me to start meeting additional friends. So I had a kind of a small group that helped me kind of, for lack of a better word, bide my time until I found the people that were my people down here in Texas.
When you moved down there, you mentioned you were wakeboarding in Utah, obviously a lot more time to do that in Texas, but did you have a boat at that time, or were you just like trying to network and find people to connect with in order to do those things?
Oh yeah, no, great question. Yeah, no, I had a boat. I had a little Malibu Sportster, and if you know much about this boat, I mean, it's a little 20-foot, literally probably about that high, like in the back, is like, and we were using tons of fat sacks. We had a pole in the middle, it wasn't even a tower back then. And so I found this guy, Greg Eister, a great guy, and he was a amazing barefoot skier, and but he would wakeboard also. And so the girl that I moved down here for knew him, and his family kind of pre-set it up before I came down here. So we'd wakeboard together on Lake Grapevine, like early morning sets, some of the best water I've ever had. It was just first time I was in water that was like a bathtub. It was the craziest experience, but it was awesome. Yeah. If you're not from the South, it's like super. I mean, like you can put your finger about this far and you can't see it anymore, and the water's super warm, in the summertime. But it was amazing, because I got down here I think in August, and still wakeboarding in November was just phenomenal. So it was great. It was great to move here.
And what'd you do? So when you get down here, like obviously you left the job there. What did you do for work when you first got to Dallas?
So when I first got here, I worked at a furniture company called Wicks Furniture over in North Richland Hills. Yeah. So, and it was good. I mean, I made really good money there, but they were in at that point, a new store called Rooms to Go came in to town. And so all of a sudden, and at that point, I mean, it was like a crazy phenomenon, because they had like 3-year no interest financing. And everybody, they had it was in Grapevine too. And like they had lines of policemen. I mean, it was like a whole thing. And I kept hearing about it for a while, but I was like, I had some pretty good friends, and I liked the area, and didn't make a change at that point. But I was working at Wix Furniture. I eventually ended up at Rooms to Go, a couple maybe a year and a half later after I was here. But at the beginning, I was at Wix Furniture.
Wow.
So you're doing that, and then would you say that when you mentioned your friends that were here about a year, right? Year and a half.
Yep.
Between the two of them.
Yep.
And the friendships that you developed though in Texas, did all of that come from, as we call us, the lake life, right?
Actually, no. Before so after Wix, I got a part-time job at Joe's Crab Shack. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy.
Oh,
but,
that's right.
Yeah,
okay, I remember this. Okay.
Yeah. So I got a part-time job at Joe's Crab Shack, and ended up meeting a mutual friend of ours, Travis Darwin, and over in North Richland Hills, not North Richland Hills, Farmers Branch, or I guess that area. What is that area on Beltline called? Addison,
Addison,
right?
That's right. Oh my
Addison,
God, I forgot about this. Okay.
Yeah. So, and how we became friends is because you have to, like, they had this thing at Joe's, if you've never been to one, like when the kitchen gets backed up, they have this thing called a concept. And so when this concept's happening, you have to dance, and they teach you like all these different dances, and you have to do it. And so Travis and I always ended up finding each other in the walk-in cooler during these concept things, trying to like find things to do other than go dance. So anyway, we became really good friends at that point. And so that was my actual first, friend that I had here. And so he would wakeboard, and then I ended up meeting what would become my wakeboard. My crew through an AOL. Like, do you remember on AOL they had like little groups inside there? There was a Dallas group, and that's how I met Matt Sharvo, and then him and I started Dallas wakeboarding. So it was all about that same time.
Interesting. What would make you go work at Joe's Crab Shack?
I really like, because I was at a furniture store and everybody was so old, and I was like, maybe this is a way to go meet some younger people. I just didn't know. Yeah, because one of my friends worked at a restaurant over there. It was called Big Bucks or something over there by the Gaylord, by the Bass Pro. He worked there, and my other friend worked at the Renaissance Hotel. And they in the service industry, they were meeting people. So I was like, I went and got a part-time job over there, and that's how I ended up meeting Travis.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Dad. It's really hard because when you were 27, I was 23, just turned 24. And it's like, especially when you come from, especially being social and you have a lot of friends back home, like Dallas is a really hard place to meet people. And
sure.
So if you don't work at a place with a lot of young people, where I ended up getting a job, there weren't a lot of young people. And so I just I should have gone and worked at Joe's Crab Shack. That's what I should have done.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I don't know that I'd be here today, but that's interesting that you did that. So you meet Travis there, Travis is, God, love him. Very, what a character.
Good guy.
Good guy. So you're working there, then how long are you in Dallas before you and Matt come up with, and then tell us a little bit about what this is, but why it's important is because it's kind of how we end up meeting you. But how do you start Dallas wakeboarding, and what was that?
DWB.
Yeah. So we, so during this time, everybody, like, I didn't know a lot of people that wakeboarded, and obviously you guys know if you're wakeboarding, it takes a skill set to have somebody that you feel comfortable driving you, like, right? Because you have to have somebody drive straight, holds the speed, especially back then before we had all the electronics of, like a cruise control type option. So I meet Matt Sharvo during this time of working at Joe's Crab Shack, and we start going out on the lake together. And him and I, and there was this other website called N2 Wakeboarding. I think that's what it was called. Oh my gosh, it's been so long ago. This was like, you got to talk. This is like 2000. What year was this? 2000, right?
2000.
Yeah, 2000. It had to be about 2000. And so Matt and I, we were talking about this website. And we're like, well, man, it would be really cool if there was a website like, here in Dallas that was just for Dallas people, and, that people could find rides and stuff like that. So the whole idea was trying to just connect Facebook before Facebook, and we would have like, you could put photos on there, stuff like that. And so we literally didn't know neither one of us. He stained fences, and I literally sold furniture, and we just decided to hire some guy. I don't even remember where we got him. And the first guy, I believe he was in Kentucky, actually. I know if I remember right, he was in Kentucky. Built us a website, got this forum on here, and we just started telling some people about it. And it was fast. I mean, really quickly, like within a year or two, we had probably like 800 people on there. And it evolved, and it was really just a website about people finding other people that wanted to find rides, and you could sell equipment on there, and that's kind of how it all started. It was called DallasWakeboarding.com.
Yep. It was I didn't remember you guys were selling stuff on that too. So it's like Facebook Marketplace before you even had it. Yeah.
100%.
All of that.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So you start that. How long are you and Matt doing that, driving that business? Because it became one before you started hosting tournaments. Because that's how we end up meeting. That's how I end up meeting you, is through Sister Kelsey signing up to do a wakeboarding
tournament.
Yeah.
So I would say it was about 2 years. I don't know that it was ever a business, because financially we didn't make money, and I'll talk about that more in a second. But it definitely was a job because of what it turned into. But for the first couple of years, it was really more about rides, and then there was about a group of 6 of us that we started riding together. They had lots down at the Brazos River. And it was like, hey, we should do a wakeboard tournament. And they were like, there's no grassroots type tournament here. And so it was called the Texas Jam. It was in 2003. And we put this thing together in like 2 months. It was at this place called Mustang Canyon in Las Colinas. That was the coolest place to ride. I mean, the water level was perfect. The amount of room you had to run back and forth in that, and it's gone now, by the way. But yeah, we ended up putting a tournament together. We had Malibu, which was Waterski America at the time, sponsor that. And so it wasn't just Matt and I at this point. I mean, there was a group of 6 of us that were, put a lot of work into this. And I wish I still had one of those shirts, because it was really cool. It was like a long sleeve, and just brings back a lot of great memories. But that tournament was the starting point. We're like, oh, and I think we ended up having like 60 riders at that first tournament, maybe 60 or 70. And we're like, oh, there's something here. So that was how our first tournament started.
Yeah,
I remember that tournament because I bought a 2001 Malibu wake setter, and that 2003 tournament, as you just described, that was the first tournament that we ever actually, maybe not the first one. The one in Princeton might have been the first one, but this was the second one, I think, that Kelsey ran in. But I do remember that one. I think that
Kevin, that was our. I think so the first one was that one. That Princeton one was actually, I don't remember who did that. That wasn't us. It was another. Did we do one in Princeton?
No,
I don't think we did that one.
It was somebody else.
Yeah, it was like an intermediate type thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I mean, I think we met you in that first one in 2003. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because cool. Kelsey was riding in that one, so she started riding she started riding before that, but she went to O-Town with Dallas Friday that winter of 2002. So
okay.
So right before 2003 riding series or riding time frame. So, because I remember going to that thing, it being being at the top of the hill, the actual valley down there, it was protected from the wind. Those daggone, those little crotch bikes or whatever they called them, just the
little 50s,
minis,
all the little 50s,
pit bikes, the pit bikes, yeah,
pit bikes, yeah, exactly. And I think I don't know, did they do a couple tournaments there, or was there only one there?
No, so then the next year we had such, a lot of people tell us how fun it was. So we decided in all of our wisdom to do 3 the next year. And I went and got every major boat dealer to sponsor this. It was the first time that all boats had done something like this. So and so we basically used 3 locations. We used Marine Creek, we used Texas Mastercraft's Private Lake, and then we used the Mustang Canyon that next year.
Okay.
And we were able, and they allowed us, which was crazy because Marine Creek was essentially Waterscape America's lake. Mastercraft had their own lake, but we ran all 5 boats on all the lakes, which was pretty crazy. So that was the first time I think everybody got together. And we were giving away like crazy prizes, right? Like, I mean, we were giving away $1,000 for first place for this grassroots. And we made sure that every division, including beginner, I mean, the very beginner novice space had like, really good prizes. Everything we built from this, we literally gave away. So
Yeah.
kind of our motto is for riders, by
that.
riders, which was what it was. Yeah.
That's right. Well, that's the one I remember. I remember when it was a 3 series tournament. I don't remember being at, maybe I wasn't there, but that would have been right when I moved to Dallas in 03. Yeah. But that's what I remember. And I'm trying to, that's where I met you, was at a tournament.
No, you met me before.
Right?
So you called. Yeah, no, you called on the phone. And you called on the phone and you're like, hey, I'm looking at sponsoring this tournament thing that you have. And that's how, and you had a phone call and you had Lakeside Mafia. And
that's right.
You guys were like, hey, we want to sponsor this tournament. And we were like, yeah, sure. That was awesome. And I think it was that tournament series is where we ended up meeting in person. I think was when you guys came and we met there.
That's right. I couldn't remember if we met and then we ended up doing the sponsorship so I called, made that connection, and then we met in person. And then you were quickly like, I just remember you being like, you can ride on the boat. I need you to throw the rope. And I was like, what? I'm like, I mean, you're like, come on, just come in here and you can be the rope girl. And I feel like I ended up doing that quite a bit after that. And then that was kind of how we started talking and became friends eventually. Right?
100%. Yeah.
I
think we were friends immediately.
Yeah. One of my first friends in Texas, it was my age, and I actually probably liked that. I was like, okay, this person is cool. I can actually hang out with them. And yeah, you kind of brought me into your world a little bit. And I was telling Dad in an earlier episode when we were going through, early episodes, we kind of tracked through our personal timeline. And when we were talking about that phase of my life, just how hard that was for me and just how down I was. And I mean, quite frankly, depressed and like, what am I doing here? Why did I move here? Left all these friends. And then I met you, and it was the first time that I had like joy in my life from forming a relationship on my own that wasn't through like Dad or something like that. So I'm thanking you for that now.
I appreciate that. Thank you. No, it was mutual. I mean, because like at that point in my life, I mean, I was a single dad. So we talk about that 2003 tournament, and I had my first son Ethan, and literally he was at the tournament as an infant because this was in October. We did it like I think it was like late October. I mean, I don't know why we did it that late, but I remember Ethan being at that first 2003 tournament, and then by the next year, I was a single dad with him that essentially had him the majority of the time, and so. It was really cool because when we met at that point, you were really accepting of that, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, and he was so little, and that was really cool because last summer, Dad, I don't remember if I told you this, but when we were in Seaside for beach weekend with Shane, we met up with Reid and Danielle, and the kids were there, and I got to see Ethan, who I hadn't seen. Now, obviously, he's in college, and just like such a big kid. I can't call him a grown-up because I just can't, but sorry, Ethan, but I can't do that quite yet. But it was so cool to see him. Because I mean, I obviously met him when he was very, very young, but what was that like? I guess let's go back a step. So you're working at Joe's. When do you meet Ethan's mom, and how old are you when you ended up when Ethan was born?
Great question. So I leave Wicks Furniture and I end up in 2001 going to Rooms to Go in Plano, and that's where I met his mom. And so we dated for a while, and ended up getting married for a very short period of time. And I know for a fact, I mean, there was a reason to meet her because I mean, I have 3 great kids. He's amazing, and just a super blessing to have him. But during that time, I knew that my dad told me a long time ago, he said the biggest mistake he ever made, regret that he ever had, was he worked at Prudential Life Insurance back in 1975. And just the people that he kept up with and watched were just like how well they were doing. And he was like, that was my biggest regret for not doing that. So I went to school at the University of Utah and was studying finance. And then, I always thought I might end up being a financial advisor. So while I was at Rooms to Go in 2001, I ended up, and 9/11 happens and the market's, kind of crazy. And I didn't know what the stability of everything was going to be like. And so I went and got my insurance license. I think I got my insurance license actually in 2000 because I thought about doing it while I was at Joe's back in 2000. But in 2002, when I found out that I was going to be a dad, I ended up looking for a different job and left there and started working at a company called Bankers Life and Casualty. And I was selling long-term care medical supplements. But it really quickly came into selling like annuities for retirees because everybody was freaking out. Like, what do I do with my money that's in the market? Because the market lost in 2000, 2001, 2002. And so all of a sudden people are starting to look at these annuities as an option for retirement that didn't want to be in the market. And so very quickly I kind of got immersed in that. And that was kind of my starting point to my financial services start.
I remember when we were running around together. I mean, this was when we were dating, probably.
Yeah.
And we were going somewhere. You'd like pick me up, and this is when you were, I think, right? You were hosting all of these, like I'll call them an event, but where you were basically you were selling, but you were doing it through education. You were like talking about this, and you would go and do these a lot. Do you remember that? I'm sure you do.
100%. So that would have been when I left Bankers. I hope I remember it. I don't have Alzheimer's yet. I mean, Daniel says sometimes I have selective memory, but
I think we all do.
At that point, I started doing what we'd call seminars or educational events, and we would literally give an hour presentation and where they got a meal, and then we would sign people up that wanted to sit down and actually review their investments. And so at that point, I mean, I was very, I would say in my infancy phase of that, mostly just doing like fixed products in the insurance world until later on. But yeah, that was kind of my starting point. But yeah, doing those events. And actually, what's funny is maybe we'll talk about this later, but I'm doing that again with a new firm, but at a much larger level.
Yeah, well, I remember that. I say it because you were just, it was a good thing. I mean, you were just always hustling. And I remember people when, talking about about you with family and stuff, like, well, what does he do? And I'm like, something with insurance. I'm like, I don't even think I was mature enough at that point to really understand it. But I was like, something with insurance. I was like, and he's constantly working. Like, I mean, and that's kind of, I think, your personality. I mean, you are, in a sense, like you're just a natural salesperson and that you're always networking. You're always on, and I always was just like amazed. I just was always amazed by that because it didn't feel like work, but I'm like, now that I'm older, I'm like, man, you were just always working, right? Like you were building the network.
Yeah. Well, I at that point, what's funny about you saying that is I know later on I started working a lot more. It's interesting to hear you say that you felt like I worked a lot. Then I feel like that was probably when I worked the least amount. So,
oh really?
Really, yeah. So in fact, how it fast forwards into like which was Lake Point, which was my baby, and I grew from let's call it 2003 to 2021 when I ended up selling. That my first employee actually found me out on the lake because she was somebody processing my business and she needed a signature from me. And she's like, she actually saw the potential in what I was doing because it came very easy for me to communicate with people. And I really cared about people. I do. I mean, I think that's why I've been so successful is because I'm not just going to put someone in something. I really want to understand what they're trying to accomplish and get them in the right vehicles and make sure that they meet their goals. And so she saw that very quickly that how she saw a business potential in that and said, hey, I want to partner with you on that. And that's how Lake Point started. But it was actually her coming to the lake and getting me to sign applications. That's how much I love being on the water. So that's why I didn't feel like I worked that much. But I mean, thank you for.
Well, I say it because I guess what I'm trying. Yes, I think you were. But I guess what I'm saying is I feel like you were always working in a sense that even when you were having fun, it was work, right? Because you were meeting people. You were always making an effort to connect with people form relationships, which then I think probably led to a lot of your success. So maybe let's jump into, tell us about building Lake Point. What exactly was Lake Point? You mentioned you started that in 03, selling in 21. So not quite 20 years of building that business.
Yeah. So essentially, Lake Point Advisory Group was a firm where we specialized in working with like retirees and pre-retirees. And in the infancy phase, I would say it was really just like fixed insurance products, like fixed annuities, and literally just creating like great relationships with clients. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, but at that point, it's interesting to think back to that because I remember for getting clients. I mean, we would go to like St. Pius Church as an example and work on, they would have their senior events, and then we would just talk about a topic, long-term care or Social Security or something, and then that's how we got leads at that point. But at that point, we were meeting with people at their homes, and then I think in 2008 we ended up getting the first office, like because I worked from home at that point and had remote offices, but we got our first office in Rockwall, and hired on our first employees, and then just over the course of time continued to grow. And then in 2014, we ended up, 2013, I'm sorry, got that's when we really changed courses. I knew that I could not do full comprehensive planning by just, selling a portion of the assets. And honestly, I was kind of frustrated because I couldn't do the entire comprehensive plan. So I went and got a securities license and got my a Series 65 and started an RIA, and really kind of that's when it kind of really took off. We hired some advisors who had been doing that a long time, and really grew that business up very quickly. I mean, from 2014 to 2021, I mean, we had explosive growth. We ended up having 10 offices throughout Dallas, Houston, and one in Salt Lake. I mean, just had a lot of fun, met a lot of amazing clients like that. That was the hardest part of when I ended up backing away from that business, and exiting that business. Some of the clients that I had there, you talked about me being a relationship person. I love the people that I worked with, and truly had a great time getting to know them, helping them, and, helping them plan for retirement.
Mm-hmm. So on the relationship side with the client, though, there's another relationship side that you have to culture and kind of nurture through, and that's the product side. You've got to go find good products that you can bring forward. And I mean, I would see that to be, from my perspective, the easiest thing would be to develop a relationship with your client. A more difficult thing is to make sure that the products you're throwing out there are trustworthy, trusting of the clients can trust them. Obviously they trust you, but I mean, that would be a big weight on my shoulders to just, again, as you and I have talked about, providing good service and, better yet, good products that pan out to, as you say, get them where they want to go.
Yeah, I will tell you that's a great point because, when you're selling fixed products and fixed annuities, I mean, there's literally hundreds of companies that sell these products. And if anybody listens to this, and I can give you one thing, there are some decent annuities that are out there. They're for very specific situations. But I will tell you, there were learning lessons that I learned along the way. Being an independent advisor, I had the full gamut, so I could go do this. And sometimes, you had a new company that came in and they're beating everybody. And it's like, it looks really good on the front end of that. But, and we all know that in an annuity world, like, products can change their specs, meaning that, like, hey, it's this rate right now, but they can lower it in the future. Most companies, really reputable companies, they typically don't do it. They'll create a new product and then leave the ones alone. But early on, especially like in that early 2003-4 time period, we learned very quickly that some of these new players that came in that had these aggressive rates, they were the ones that went, right away. So we started getting really selective on who we were using, meaning that you had to show a track record. Like if you were in our firm, if you were going to use one of those type of products, you had to, we made sure that we knew what their rate history was, how often they changed rates, and picked companies that just, it had a history for not doing that, or limited to what they changed. But again, you can't control it because it's at the discretion of the insurance company. It's going to change based on what happens to interest rates. So, but again, you can be careful as an insurance agent or an advisor on what type of product you're using. But yeah, it's scary because when you're talking about somebody's life savings, like, and I take that super seriously because I come from super humble poverty beginnings, so it matters to me what what recommendations me or any of the advisors that I worked with made for our clients.
Yeah, because I found in my research and some of the products that I've purchased in that same arena, that there's you do have providers that will guarantee, that you will not get hurt, below this level, that there is a risk, but there's a cutoff, it's going to stop at 5, it's not, may not be 8s and 10s, but it's not going to be any, you're not going to not hit a minimum number, which I thought that was kind of ballsy when I first was introduced to those type of products. But there again, that's good for the client and good for, again, the comfort of you closing your eyes and going to sleep at night. So
yeah.
What you're talking about is a structured product. Those structured products, are it's crazy to see them entering into the market. I mean, it does give people a lot more security. Oh, is my time up?
Yeah.
No, that was mine.
Reid, you're done. God, Dad.
All right. It was nice. Thanks, guys.
What an amateur. What an amateur.
I forgot I'd set that alarm, to check in for a flight. I got to check in for a flight tomorrow. So there you go.
Boy. On the road again.
He must be flying Southwest.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Well, you just derailed that.
All right. Well, we were going to talk about that product. Yeah. Sorry, Reid.
Well, I guess I want to I'm curious just because if it's not clear, Reid was very successful in growing this business. So my question for you is, you mentioned, the level of care you had, which knowing you, I know is genuine, but what do you attribute to how you were able to achieve the level of success you did? Was some of it timing, luck? Was it just, to your point, no, I worked really hard, I put it in? Was it picking the right products? What do you think it was that made that venture of yours so successful?
I think it's a lot of the above, right? I mean, part of it comes from where I came from, because I think that people could really feel it, like watching my dad struggle early on with the business and watching that go bankrupt, literally, and then living in poverty and having a point in my life where we were the people that were the beneficiaries of, like, church food and welfare and just remembering what that felt like. And so not wanting to have that, and then wanting to learn how money worked, and then teaching people how that works, because the biggest reason my dad lost his business was taxes. I mean, just pure, not understanding them, not taking them seriously. And retirement planning is the same thing. It's like, you can have all, I sat with somebody today that has, a significant, net worth. They had no idea the tax impact that was going to happen when they, have to start taking required distributions. By the way, if you don't know, Jamie, at 73, you have to start pulling money from your IRAs, right? If you haven't taken it by that point. But they had no idea what this was going to do. And then showing them, like, okay, even if you take this out, and then showing them kind of a simplified plan. But at the end, when you want to leave this money to your beneficiaries, by the way, Uncle Sam gets to, another take on that.
Take all of it.
And
yeah.
So, yeah, not all of it, but there's a tax rate on that. And so showing them, like, hey, you don't have to do this. Here's planning on doing this. And so I think I had a lot of interest for that. And then going and getting licensed, and then having a lot of good mentors. Mentors were huge for me. Like, I people who in the industry, I would consider some of the best that are out there. Consistently educating myself, whether it be through, physical schooling or, podcasts. And again, mentors. I've really kind of helped coaching is, a lot of what I'd contribute that to. But again, working, when I first got with Danielle, who's my wife, by the way, amazing wife. And when we first got together and we were, talking about taking the next step of getting married, it was like, hey, I think I can blow this up. At that point is when I really kind of thought that this was going to, go really well. But I was like, I had Ethan, and I was like, I'm going to need some help. And are you in or you're out? She's like, I'm in. And literally, she became a single mom almost, like right from the time we got married, because I was working 16, hours a day because we not only were we doing the events, not only were we meeting clients, but then at that point, I think we had about 20 employees, and it was just, it was chaotic at that point. And so
Yeah.
learned a lot from it, but again, it was timing, luck, and definitely hard work. I think it was all the above.
And you held that business until you said 21. What prompted you to sell? I feel like last time we talked, you were like, I'm retired now. And I'm like, was pretty jealous of that. So what, obviously we'll get into it, but you're not technically retired, but what prompted you to move on from Lake Point?
Health, honestly. So there were a few things. Number one, so one of my clients who I love is also my doctor. And so all the time he was like, how's your stress level? How's your stress level? Obviously from me being his financial advisor, and I'm going to have longevity there, but honestly from him being a really good doctor and being cautious about that. And I have bad genes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. And I was getting to a point where he was worried. He was just like, I was not able to control the stress because I care about it so much, and it was just me. I'm the owner of the company, and there's 10 advisors at this point, all decisions, all risk, all everything is there. And honestly, a little bit of immaturity. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. In 2021, I was 47, 46, 47. And I don't think that I handled the stress very well. I didn't ask for help. I didn't even know how to ask for help at that point. And so a friend of mine in San Diego sold his firm and told me about who this firm was, and it matched us. Like, I mean, if you looked at every single thing, our values, our planning, and significantly larger than who I was, and honestly made me an offer that was, I mean, amazing, but more importantly, taking care of those clients that I cared about the entire time, because there's no way in the world I would have done it. Because I mean, there were a couple of firms that approached me, and some of them, wanted to compensate more than what this other firm, what I ended up taking, but they didn't match. They didn't do the planning. They didn't have, the infrastructure on the back end that I think would have supported or been better for my clients. And so when I found that match, that's what ended up making the idea to exit work.
And so when you did that, and a lot of that to drive to look for some more personal health, what were some changes you made do you feel like you've done that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So some of the things I didn't take serious. I mean, like, oh, your cholesterol's high, your blood, and so getting super aggressive on medications, starting to really be a lot more active, changing eating, habits. I still have, Danielle should laugh at me if she was watching this or listening, because I mean, I have a sweet tooth for sure. That part's the hardest part, but starting to share meals, just things of that nature, and honestly having quality time with my kids. I mean, because that was a big piece. I have Kelton, who's my brainiac, but he needed a lot more time, and I feel like we got them in a great place in school and everything else, and so it's been a lot easier to from where things were in 21 to now.
Yeah. And now you've made the decision, you are back into work, correct? And in the same facet, pretty much. Is that right? You started Crestview Management now?
Yeah, Crestview Wealth Management. So before that, probably around 2020, I had some friends approach me about doing some investments in businesses that they were either involved in or that they had previously. And so it started with a foundation repair company. I know so much about foundation. Now I know a ton about it. I ended up buying Fortress I'm one of 5 partners in this company, but that's been a lot of fun because that company's had tremendous growth. We've gone from just foundation repair to actually soil injection, foam lifting, and that company's it's been a lot of fun to watch. And then Danielle's stepbrother, Michael, and the partners and I of that company started a metal building company, and we've had explosive growth in that company, which has been a lot of fun doing barn dominiums and that. And then the company that does all the marketing for these companies, I ended up buying half of that with my partner, Chris, and Innovative Marketing. And so Again, all these are kind of me passive, and they use me for like strategies of growth with inside the company. Don't take a lot of my time, but it's been fun to kind of, watch these. And then Danielle's cousin and I partnered on a paint striping company. So it's like kind of a serial entrepreneurial type of thing, but mostly just using me for the, hey, I'm thinking about from a growth perspective, and things that Kevin and I talked about when we had the opportunity to have dinner last week.
Yeah. So when you make these choices to invest or help develop, and what are you looking for when what do you to see like, okay, I do think there's potential here? And I ask that because I'm sure a lot of people think, or maybe they've tried things and they failed, but I just always think it's a smart person that can see potential that other people don't see.
Nah, well, sometimes, I mean, because there's a few other, by the way, there's like 3 or 4, and if one of the other guys is watching this, I don't want you to think of that, because I mean, we have we have Safeguard Solutions, and then a property and casualty company with Clear Insurance. So, so all of the partners in these companies that I'm partnered with have the same qualities, in the sense that there's a owner operator. So there's somebody who actually has ownership in that company and is also a partner in that company. So it's not, I think that's really important. Somebody who has a growth mindset is extremely important. Like, like if you're just wanting to have a lifestyle business, that, to me, that would be boring, because I love watching the growth, like watching the wakeboard tournaments grow, like watching, Lake Point grow. I mean, that for me is super exciting. And watching client portfolios grow, right? It's like, that's the stuff that energizes me. And so, so having somebody that has a growth mindset is really big. Somebody who is willing to take coaching, and somebody who wants, wants to continue to grow at like learn and try new things. Like, as an example, on the marketing company Innovative that I own with my partner Chris, I mean, just watching the stuff that we've done in the last couple of months with AI has been so cool. Like, I mean, just from analyzing financials, having a marketing platform, build a marketing platform from the AI piece of that. It's been super neat to watch. So I think that's really important. And then that led me into my final decision of getting back into my passion, which is, and actually where I'm working and spending most of my time, which is Crestview Wealth Management. I found a partner who's a good friend of mine who loves doing all the stuff that I don't do, right? I don't like managing. I don't like holding accountability for people like that. I love giving ideas and giving direction, and then letting somebody else make sure that that's getting done. And that keeps my stress level down. And the thing that I get to do now is literally sit in meetings with clients and actually do the planning and showing them how they're going to be successful in their retirement. And that's where, I mean, kind of putting it all together.
Yeah. So it's like, you get to get out of the headache of operations, which is what I do. I'm constantly looking at how things are working, managing people. How can we improve? How can we better support the people that are out there supposed to be driving the business, making the money? So you don't like the headache of all that, which to me, that's like the fun puzzles. Like I like looking at procedures and seeing where they don't work or how they're failing and how we can be more efficient. You want to be out there, just the brains, like it's the ideas. Like, I love that. And I think that's what makes people like yourself successful, is because their minds are just constantly going, what can we do next? How can we grow it? How can we push? Like, it's just a constant cycle, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's amazing for people like you, because my sister's like that type of person, right? She works at a bank. She's risk management. Like, she loves that type of problem solving. For me, that's just like in the scope of a business. I like the management of people is probably not where my passion is, but but being able to sit down with individuals and show them how to achieve their goals, that's really where it's super, and that's where I get my passion.
Well, you know me, Reid. I like to tell people what to do, so it works for me.
Yeah, Kevin, she doesn't do that, does she?
I like to control and tell others what to do.
Yep.
So when you are in with Crestview now, the biggest takeaway, I guess, for you, and the sense of you trying to stay personally healthy, is figuring out what you really love doing about what you did at Lake Point for 20 years, which is driving the actual understanding of the business itself, but not dealing with the headache of management. And I mean, I don't want to say it's busy work, but kind of just operations?
Yeah, it's been. I didn't realize how much I missed it too, because it's been almost a little over 3 years before I came back, and first time I got to sit there, we did an event, like, we talked about when we first met,
Yeah.
where people came in and listened to us talk about what we do, and having them come in and, based on being interested in the topics that we were talking about, and just going through from hey, here's where you're currently at. Here's, what we can, offer you from the type of planning we do. And here's how we think we can increase the value of what you have. And I was like, at the end of that meeting, I was like, man, that was, I missed this, and this is what I was meant to do, right? And
Yeah.
so while I have investments in different companies, and they'll call me and ask for help from if I'm from a financial perspective, and hey, if they have questions on growth, I mean, I really feel like this has been a really good move for my family, for myself, and for my well-being. I mean, just because I love doing it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited you are back in it, because like I said, last time I saw you in person, which last summer, and I feel like you and your partner, I think he was at dinner with us actually. You're like, this is who I'm kind of working with now, and he does all the things I don't want to deal with.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you seemed good. Like you seemed just yeah, very happy. And obviously you have 3 kids, beautiful wife, renovating a new home. I mean, you're killing
I
it,
don't
Reid.
recommend doing that, though. Don't do that.
Well, you're not doing it. You've hired somebody to do it, but
Yeah, no, but I mean, still, I mean, so we had a house, and we moved into it for 4 months, and then moved out again to do the remodel. That's what I'm saying. I don't recommend doing that. So, but I'm super excited. It'll be nice. It's on the lake, which hopefully we'll be able to spend more time on the lake, because the last few years I feel like it's been Ethan using the boat and getting out there, and so I think with having the boat right there, it will hopefully help out, and we'll be able to enjoy it more as a family.
yeah, absolutely. Well, when we were talking earlier, because I feel like I don't even know how to segue into this, but you told me you had a story about social media.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying, Kevin. What were you saying? Kevin was.
What?
We were talking about stories, right? And I was like,
Yeah,
telling my
stories.
wife. Yeah, so I was telling Danielle, like, I would get so mad at her, because I was like, I didn't post much on social media. I was there. I was there. I used it to watch, see what's going on, keep up with people back in Utah. And she decided that she was just going to start using stories, and it made me so mad, because I didn't ever get like a year from now, you didn't get the reminder of, oh, hey, you went to this place, or you did that. And so, but anyway, but no, Kevin, I was telling Kevin when we went to dinner last week that I deleted all my social media, essentially, other than LinkedIn, starting in last December. And it was like, I just got to a point in my life where I'm like, I have an amazing life. I mean, I get to do a lot of great things, but I was like watching other people, on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, why am I not doing that? Why, I'm almost like keeping up with the Joneses. And I was like, this is not healthy. And so literally I deleted. That's why I got off of social media. I was just like, just for me. And honestly, I thought I would be like, sorry. I thought that I would be, really sad about it, and asking Danielle, like, hey, what's going on? But it's actually been really nice, and I think part of my being less stressed has not been on social media, as crazy as that sounds.
No, I mean yeah,
Makes
I hear
sense.
it. I mean, I'm still
think
trying to
it's-
teach Dad how to use it, so which creates a lot of stress for me. But
Yeah, but my takeaway
Well,
is,
I'm
yeah,
almost.
it's neat, but it's such a time sink. It's just such a waste of time. Although it can drive in trying to make things happen. It can create traffic, but
yeah,
it just, I find unless you're being productive in it, you're just watching this or looking at that, and it is funny and comical and goes, makes a lot of laughter, but then you look up and it's 2 hours later, and you've wasted 2 hours of sunshine outside. You know what I mean? It's just kind of it's just a waste of time. It's just kind of like a round of golf, the way I look at it. There's better things to do. So,
I love golf, though. I love golf, but I'll tell you, I think the thing I miss most about Facebook is the recipes, like seeing all the food that would make me like super fat. So maybe that's another thing.
yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I probably sent Danielle 3 or 4 things a day, like, oh, this would be really good, and she's
Make
like, you're
this.
not getting it. Make this.
That's funny you mentioned that, Reid. I get that food talk email every day, and there's a recipe after a recipe after a recipe, and I'm filing them away. I'm keeping my hierarchy and my organization on my computer, and then Suzanne's one that's got to see things. So then I just kind of print these things out and staple them together, and so she's got a hanging folder now with
Oh my
with all the
God.
different recipes to try to
Don't tell me
try
this.
to work through.
I don't want to hear that you're printing paper and keeping paper, because that's going to be my problem one day, and I don't want to hear about that. So you got to find an electronic means for that.
Well, that's Suzanne's problem. That's her paper. It's not my paper.
Well, okay.
I print it out so she can follow a recipe. She likes looking at things.
I love that y'all are like sending your women, like, make this food.
Hey, but listen, the business that Reid's in, I get about 5 of these a week. I mean, I don't even really need to make any meals. I just can attend these workshops 3 and 4 times a week.
Is that from Reid, or is that from someone else?
No, it's but they come in. It's from somebody else. But it's either this one's about a timeshare. So this is about getting out of your timeshare.
Oh,
so then there's all kinds of things like that. But heck, you get to eat for free. This one is you get $100. This one you get $100 for attending.
I tell people all the time, like, you could literally, you could go to a seminar every single, night of the week. And that's in retirement. If you're, on a budget, that's a great way to do it. I mean,
it is.
They're going to continue to invite you. Yeah.
Go get your free meal.
So Jamie, there's plenty. Yeah. Jamie, you're not old enough yet, because you don't get those invitations.
I don't have any money.
50, 55.
Reid, I don't have any money. All my money goes to youth hockey. So I'm kidding.
And the fancy new hats.
And our new hats. Yep. Yeah. We'll definitely have to get
that was my money, Reid.
There you go. Well, you have more of it, Dad, so we'll let you spend it. Oh, man. Well, this is great. I loved hearing all this, because I guess a little background for the listeners were, when Reid was doing all this, building this business, was pretty much when I fled Texas and moved to, Pennsylvania, and obviously started my life here, but we've stayed connected. And like I said, I got to see you last summer. So hopefully next time I'm in Dallas, you and Danielle and I can hit dinner and catch up.
Yeah, no, I think it was really good. I mean, the whole McClintock family was a good, I mean, for me, it was really good, because obviously you and I meeting first, and having a great friendship, and then you and didn't leave me in a lurch when you left. You obviously introducing me to Shane. So, because Shane was a really important, part, like, while he was there, and then you guys both left me. So that was, but up until that point, when you guys both left, that was a lot of fun. I mean, Shane and I, we had some really good times too. It's been, you guys are a special family, because there's not very many. I love listening to your episodes and talking about how crazy it was. But for me, I always felt like it was, as crazy as it was living in a function. You know what I mean? That you guys kind of knew what it was, and the relationships that you guys had with each other, I was really envious of. I mean, watching you guys like all together at the tournaments and out on the lake and the lake house days. I mean, it was just really cool to have an experience to know all of you guys. So appreciate that friendship for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, you're one of our friends at that point in our life, as we were, as a family, because we were all living in Dallas, and, Kelsey was younger, but still obviously very connected. I mean, my sister and I were, very, very close. So she was always around. And when we met you, we were like a very tight unit. So, then Shane moved in and moved to Dallas, and he took my place, but that's okay. I loaned you to him for a little while, but it was a good time, just like being able to. I think that's my point is the uniqueness of our friendship is that you are so connected to all of us. It's not just me or Shane, but you're really someone who knows all of us very well. And like I said, you were really my first Texas friend. So not really from Texas, but
that's right. A Texas friend, not from Texas. That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, I think I've been here. I wanted to chime in here when Jamie gets tired of talking here in a minute.
No, go for it, Dad.
That won't ever happen. That won't ever happen.
No, I just wanted to say, Reid, I think I think the one thing that really stands out for me, and something that you do need to take a lot of pride in, and I'm sure it's not an economical success, but the community that you built around, DWB.com, and just how those guys, all of them, and better yet, that community to this day, obviously they're in their 40s, and some of them, younger, some of them older, but that community really has taken a beating, within the industry of the boat world and things like that. And the grassroots competitions are no longer there. And, what was superstars coming in once a year, to Texas and demonstrating their riding skills, and Orlando being the wakeboard capital of the world. I mean, the fact that you from Utah came in and saw that in 1999, and then, just the camaraderie, and whether it was the house on Llano or being on Greenville Avenue or St. Patty's Day parade and the boat coming down in the parade. I mean, there was always something about water that Jamie and I talk about in this podcast, about how much love of water and what experiences. And this happened on our snow vacations skiing, or our lake times skiing, just how much of a community of family, your own and others, are drawn to that, just those two sports. And there's tons of other sports. Motorcycles are the same way. Whatever it is that, those passion for extreme sports, just, people are very loyal. And I mean, like I say, you run into these guys all the time, and you follow them, you see them, they've grown, they've got families. I mean, it's just incredible what was started as DallasWakeboarding.com. I just think you need to take a lot of pride in that, because it kept that interest moving forward. And I did want to bring it up to you today when I was at the went out to Lake Cypress a week or so ago, and spent Sunday out there and Saturday night out there. Ran into some youngsters that, Kelsey, were actually younger than Kelsey, Jake Parrish being one of them. And he's trying to, I told you, I think he's trying to get he's got a tournament that he's signed up for to put and throw out there on Sandlin at Barefoot Bay. So we just got to talk, chat, visit back and forth. And, he's looking for some help and trying to make that happen. So I definitely I'm going to send you some information that he sent to me, to you, and get that to your email. But he's got some information there, and I'm going to talk to Sasser about it, some other people that I can. It would just be great, to get people to. It's like he says, he can throw an event. Now we've got to get people to show up. So, and that's not the closest lake to be at, but it's probably the best lake to be riding on, in all honesty, on a weekend out there. So anyway,
I'll be more than happy to. Yeah, I'd be more than happy. I mean, with Dallas Wakeboard, I'm going to tell you, I mean, it was a group, it was a community. I mean, as much as, I mean, I own the domain, right? Matt and I had the vision of starting that together, but I mean, it was like literally people who had amazing jobs. I mean, these guys were working at L3 Raytheon, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, these guys, I mean, these are engineers, like way smarter than me, and literally, Joe Ferment is probably one of my best friends from this whole time. And he said one day, he's like, if you looked at us on paper, none of us would ever be friends, but it was all because of the, wakeboarding. It's like,
oh, that's true.
It's so true. It's so true.
That's true.
There's no reason, but it was like these guys, but everybody they were like, they wanted to do something cool and be a part of it. And I mean, these guys put in long hours. I mean, like those days, I mean, like the day before, the day after, the 2 days of it, plus going to all the different the dealers and talking to all the vendors and saying, hey, who wants to throw something in? And you're throwing yourself out there. I always felt like, especially when it came to like the third or the fourth year, it was like these, some of the guys were just like, yeah, I know what you want, Reid, and send it over. But sometimes I felt like I was, kind of inconvenient, but it's just kind of part of it if you wanted to throw a good tournament. So I'd be more than happy to talk with them about it.
Yeah. And I think those guys in today's world have to know, how many more boats they would be selling if they had a freaking wakeboard tournament going on. I mean, that drove sales, that drove people wanting boats. I mean, you grew up wanting and being in a boat and on a boat, but the people who have never been behind a boat like that get an opportunity to do that and see that, they're dragging their parents in there, to buy a wake boat. So I think that was good money spent for them. And definitely that community, as you brought forward and together, spurred that model for happening, and made Water Ski America and Texas Mastercraft and those people, the Nautique dealership, Buxton, they were all singing, I'm sure, high praises when those boat shows, the spring and the fall boat show or summer boat show were rocking and rolling boat sales. And it was, I don't know how many they're selling these days, but there were tons of them going out the doors back in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a fun time period. I mean, it really was. And again, I think it's different now with how social media works. I mean, I think that, that was the social media, so now there's so many different formats to get that. So how you bring that together, I don't know how that'd work at this point, because I'm not on social media, so I don't know.
You don't have any idea.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You're not going to be able to figure that one out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you.
Oh, did Kevin's timer go off again?
Kevin's timer.
No,
I don't know. I mean, do you have more, Dad? I don't know.
No, the only thing I wanted to say is Reid turned me on to Rocket Fuel, which is a book that he referenced at dinner, and actually a good read. Kind of I've jumped on Gino's book library for, I'd read Traction, had not heard this book, but again, this kind of follow up to that. He's got a couple of other follow ups that again look really, really good with regards to, being a good boss and things like that. I love reading those kind of books. But yeah, that was very instrumental, as I mentioned before us taping, but just really want to say thank you for that, and just what a great read that Reid told me about. So there you go.
Great read.
It's called Rocket Fuel. Do I need to read this?
Rocket Fuel.
Or is it for you entrepreneurs? Do I need to read this?
No, it's
I
both
think it's
sides.
really good. Yeah, I think it's good to understand who you are as a person within inside of an organization, because there's so many. Everybody's different. Like for me, so that it really focuses on visionaries and integrators, and how important that role is for both of those people to get together. I'm very high on the visionary side, integration, which is like follow through, and I'm like quick start, and then like, okay, what's what I mean? Squirrel, what's next? And versus like, hey, there's people like you that are the organizational glue, and how you keep those two people on track, and moving at the same direction, versus, no, we got to slow down. No, we got to go too fast. It's trying to find that right balance in there. That'd be the easiest way to explain that book, but it's really good.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. All right. I'll definitely check it out.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
Awesome.
Oh, well, it was good to see your face.
Yeah. Great to see your face. Good to see you, Kevin, again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You get to go,
yep.
Go do your rest of your day now. Go with the fam. Is that what you're doing?
Actually, yeah, heading to the golf course. I'm waiting for Ethan to
right.
work, and we're gonna go head to the golf course.
Is he home for summer?
He is. Yeah, it's crazy. If you saw him, he's been working out. He's like all like ripped. I mean, bigger than I've ever been for sure. Even in like when I was a little bit more athletic. So it's crazy to see him get really into that. He's going to London this summer, work at Lloyd's of London as an internship. It's a company called CRC, a division of that. So
nice.
We'll see how that goes.
Is he going into
awesome.
junior year, or he's going into junior year?
Senior year, yeah. He just took the LSAT. So he's going to be he's focused on being an attorney. Got his first 4.0 this semester, so that's good. So
yeah,
nice.
He's going. Yeah,
he's going places.
That's right.
I think he learned it from somebody.
School?
Texas Tech.
Where's he going
he
to
goes
school,
to Texas.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
What do they say? Guns up? Guns up?
Guns up.
Guns up.
Get your guns up. Yep.
I like it.
It's none of this. It's none of this.
No, it's no.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank God.
It's no Florida State, but it'll do. It'll do.
That will wear you out.
Oh God, whatever. Okay, well, I may be in Dallas in possibly like around June 30th. So if you're around, I'll hit you up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
let me know.
Next time I'm there, I'm going to come see the remodel. Yep.
Yeah, I want to see this. As Dad called it, the Scarface house. So I'm ready to see it. I've only seen pictures.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, guys.
Love you
Thanks.
guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Love you too. See ya.
Thank you for tuning in today. With so many podcasts out there, we are grateful you chose to spend your time with us.
And we'd love to hear from you. So send us your questions, comments, and feedback to info@twoclicksinapod.com, and we might feature your message in a future episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social and head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch the full episode live and in living color. You can find us at 2 Clicks in a Pod. That's 2, as in the number, clicks in a pod.
Well, James, until next time, love you.
Love you too, Daddy.